Hello everyone, this is PerfectManus, and from today onwards we'll be trying to create a small Blender series using Blender 4.5 LTS, more stable version. We already know that the Blender 5.0 is already out, but still it's not a stable version. So we'll be trying to create this tutorial for interface, for basic controls, basic modeling, low poly modeling, texturing, and just getting familiar with this Blender 4.5. And soon, maybe if we get the LTS version of 5.0, then we can also create a little bit of tutorial for that version also. So from the starting, we'll be focusing on this interface, but when you install it, when you see this, you won't be finding directly these options. There might be a pop-up here. Okay, so from that pop-up, for the first time you'll be seeing it will be asking you to shift controls. That control menu is basically for those who are using some other 3D softwares like Maya, 3ds Max. So there's a setting that you can change the shortcuts that you use there for the same things of the same controls here in this menu or in this software. But by default, it will be selected on Blender, and if you just click somewhere else on the screen, it will just disappear. So in case you didn't notice it there, or you don't want to change it and you by mistake have changed it, or you want to change it into some other software controls. For all those things, you simply have to click here in the edit menu. In edit menu, you have this preference. In the preferences, I will just explain all of these things only from where you have to create changes. So in the interface, you can increase the size or decrease the size of these texts. Because maybe you will be working in PC, so one works fine for me. Then the important parts are extensions. So I already have accepted online searching for the extension they have added in the library. So these are the add-ons which can be helpful for you. Okay, I have just turned this one on so I can show you the keys that I will be using in this tutorial. Then there are add-ons. There are a few by default added add-ons which you can enable by simply clicking on these. Maybe in the future while you start working with these things, or you'll be working more things into the Blender, you have to enable these certain add-ons. Or maybe you'll be buying, or you'll be finding few add-ons which you can just add into your software to make it much more easier for you to model or do other stuff. Then the thing that I'm saying is here in your key map. Okay, Blender have been selected. If you select industry compatible, then you can create shortcut keys for the other stuff that's written here. Okay, so for this tutorial we'll be just focusing on the Blender because we'll be using a lot of shortcut keys instead of just doing it manually. But first I will also explain you how to do it manually in the navigation, in the input. So this input is also very important for those of you which is working in the laptop, or for those of you who don't have a 3-click button. Okay, so first I'll be explaining for those who are working in the laptop. So few laptops though don't have your num keys on your right hand side. If you are the same, or you have the same kind of system or laptop, you have to enable the first one. Okay, so what it will do is it creates or it assigns the numpad keys that was supposed to be there onto your right hand side of the keyboard panel onto the top of your keyboard panel num keys, okay, or numbers. So it will also stop you to use some shortcut keys that was earlier supposed to be from the top keys. Now it's shifted. Okay, so for me, my system has full num keys, so I won't be enabling it. Next, if you don't have a 3-click mouse, that is your left click, right click, and the middle click. Okay, so if you don't have that kind of mouse, you have to enable it. And if you enable it, so the middle click option will be used by alt and left mouse button. Okay, so again I have 3-click mouse button, so I won't be enabling it. Next comes into your system, maybe automatically it will be on none, but you have to change it first to CUDA. And if you have a graphic card that is more powerful, so you simply select there for your renders, If your Intel core is much more powerful than your graphic card, then just select on there. Okay. Then comes your this display graphics. So the things you're seeing on the display, it will be, I guess, on OpenGL. You should change it to Vulkan because they have created a new display graphics. I can say computational thing that will just help you to see it more faster or optimized. Okay, so it's still in development phase, so that's why I'm saying that current Vulkan backend limitations are that low performance in VR, but you are not working on VR right now, I suppose. Then after you have done these things, you can save all of these things by simply clicking save preference, but here is automatically selected, so the things you have changed will automatically be selected. If you don't want it to be automatically selected, just click here and disable it, and you can just enable it again by clicking here, or just save the changes you have made. Now let's close it. Okay, from here onwards you have to start your journey as a 3D modeler, sculptor, texture artist, rendering artist, animator, compositing. Okay, so the first thing that you'll be finding onto the screen is this 3D viewport. Everything that is inside this box, okay, is your 3D viewport. I'm not making any names, so you can simply click it here and you can see that it's 3D viewport. So by mistake, if you're not finding this, you simply come to layout. Okay, maybe you can click somewhere around here or here, you won't be finding that screen. You can simply go here and click here, or just come to layout, and this will be by default set it to the layout options. Okay, after this you're seeing that there is an object mode. So everything you're seeing in this screen is a 3D viewport. So in the 3D viewport you model something or you create something. Okay, for that modeling, this is a 3D space. The red line you're seeing here is the x-axis, the green is y, and the z is up to down. That's not showing, but if you see here, the z is along this axis. So positive x is this side from this origin point, negative x is this side, positive y this side, and negative y this side. Similarly for z, up is positive and down is negative. Okay, so by default, when you see here, you'll be finding this cube. You can change these things or you can edit these things. So before editing or changing, you can just get familiar with the options you have in this 3D viewport. So the first thing that you're seeing here is the object mode. So when you start the system, you'll find everything in the object mode. Then you can go in the edit mode, you can edit those stuff, you can go in the sculpting, vertex, weight, texture paint. These are different stuff. Okay, so just focus on the object mode. In the object mode you have this view. Okay, these are basically for the toolbar settings, the things you can see here, so don't just change it right now. Then select the things you'll be selecting here that you can select, just click and drag by manually clicking. Okay, and you'll be noticing that everything that I've selected turned to orange. Okay, orange boundary. Then the third is adding meshes. So this adding meshes have also a shortcut key. Okay, so we'll be just discussing shortcut keys while we are working it. You simply have to drag your cursor on top of that button and it will show you the shortcut to it. That is a Shift A. So if you press Shift A here or anywhere in this 3D viewport, you will get those similar options that you can get from here. Okay, the first thing is what we'll be using a lot basically is your primitive shape. So what is a primitive shape? It's a basic shape that helps you to create the nearest shape or the final result. Okay, so for example, if I want to create a table, the easiest way for me is to create a cube and changing its shape and size, and then I will be just creating other foot for the table. Okay, so that's how you basically just think what is the nearest shape that can be helped to create something, whatever you are thinking. Okay, next, your object have a lot of options. We'll be explaining them one by one, or while we will be modeling or working with it, because if I start explaining this all of these things, it will be a lot. Okay, so we'll just go slow and we'll just start learning this stuff. Here you're seeing is on global, so it's basically your transformation orientation. What is it? So if you use any of these tools, okay, or any tool in this system, they work in a 3D space. So a 3D space is like, in a real world, you have east, west, north, south. Okay, it's a world axis. But if you change it to local, so whatever thing I'm doing is mine. Okay, so if I move my face toward, let's say, east, and I'm saying, so where I'm looking at is always west. So for me it will be a west, but for whole world it's still east. Okay, so the global means common for all, the local means for a certain object. Okay, so you are deciding for certain object its directions, movement, rotation or scaling. So these things will be helpful while we will be modeling, and it will be better while you do it in the practical to understand more. Okay, then comes your transform pivot point. Okay, for transform pivot point, these things are really helpful for you to move around, rotate or scale stuff, especially using 3D cursor. What is the 3D cursor? This red and white box that you are seeing in the center. It will be helpful for you for a lot of movements, a lot of changes in your 3D modeling. Okay, or animation. So you can simply assign that as a center point for the movement of your objects, or you can just simply use the yellow dot you're seeing in the center, that is called your origin. So every object has their origin. For this you're seeing the origin is here, for this you're seeing the origin in the center, and for this the origin is right in the center of its volume. So by default every object you select, they have the origin at their central point. Okay, now, this will be also helpful when we try to model, move or rotate something. Also, I'll be explaining them while we start using these tools. This is snap. So for example, if you have a model, you want to move it on top of any other model. Okay, let's say I have this cube, I will be duplicating it by pressing Shift D. Let me just enable this so you can see it much more better. Okay, so here you're seeing everything that I will be selecting. I select this object, I'm creating its copy by pressing Shift D. Okay, if I want to put it right on top of it or snap it, okay, I'll be enabling this. I'll be selecting one of these options. So I'll just show you one so you'll know how to do it. And I start moving it by using the move key, or the shortcut that you can read is G. Okay, I click here, I press G, and it will be snapped onto that object. Okay, it's not joined, it's still separate, but it's on right on top of that object. Okay, similar thing can happen if you try to move it for some other places, but just remember, wherever you're moving this, it will still try to put that onto the surface. It can be from the opposite sides also. So I will just simply disable it, and I will just delete it by pressing delete or X. It will ask you, do you want to delete it? And yes. For the shape, it's basically helping you to scale or move your stuff while you're having a proportional constraints. Okay, so the example for it is you simply click here, it will be enabled. You have these ways. Okay, an example, don't worry if you're not understanding what I'm doing right now, but I've selected this object and I'm selecting these vertices. So what are vertices? These dot points are called your vertices. These lines are called your edges, and these big boxes or the thing you're seeing is called faces. Okay, again, vertex, edge, faces. Okay, for these stuff, if you have full num keys, your shortcut is on your left hand side, the num keys 1 2 3. So 1 2 3. Okay, it won't work in object mode, you have to still be in the edit mode. Okay, so the thing I was explaining, you have this, you enable it and you choose one of these methods to increase it or make the movement or the area of impact smoother. So I'm moving, you're seeing this circle. Okay, while I'm moving this, I increase the size by scrolling my mouse. So the impact I'm doing is it's now happening all over the object, or I can just constrain it to some things which are inside those circular part. Also, this will be more useful while we are modeling and you'll be understanding much more better. So we disable it again and we comes out to your object mode because that's where we are supposed to be for now. Then these things are also useful while you are modeling your stuff, so you can just hide your things, you can make your few things unselected. Yes, we won't be working with these things a lot. From here also the navigation, the stuff you can select or see similarly for these ones. So the thing that will be a lot useful for you is this one. So let's suppose I have something inside it or behind it and I want to select it. It's much more hard for me to select it. So I will just enable my toggle X-ray and I can see through it now. You'll notice earlier I was not, but now I can. Okay. With this, if I combine this one, okay, viewport shading wireframe, so it will be shown as a wired model. If I select it, okay, this box has been selected and it's still glowing as orange, but it's showing only the edges of this object. Okay, it's because it's in the wireframe mode. You can simply select it and change it to solid. You can disable this to view your model as a much more solid menu. Then you have a textured or material preview. So right now I don't have any material on top of it, or even if I put some materials on top of it, I cannot see it in this view because it's basically just for your modeling stuff. From here, if I select it, light will be added, some environment will be there, and you can see the texture you are applying on top of this object. So by default, it have a white texture. That's why it's showing as a white cube. Last is your rendered view. We'll also discuss a lot of rendering options, okay, and that's how your final output will be coming when you try to export it or render it. Okay, so coming back to the solid view, because that's where it's easier for us to control it and it takes really less CPU or GPU power. From here, the first option is the selection menu. If you keep selecting it, okay, with your left mouse button, you will see that they have a lot more options. So these are the ways that you can select your model. So first one is simply only the stuff you select will be selected, okay, on the stuff you click basically. The second one is select box. So everything inside this box will be selected. Right now we have these three things. All these three things have been selected. Then comes your circular. So from while I'm clicking, I just have to move my cursor on top of that object and that will be selected. Next is your select lasso. So I certainly have to just draw, and whatever is inside those boxes will be selected and whatever is outside won't be. Then it's your cursor movement. So you can simply press shift space bar if you want to move it to somewhere around, or you can just simply click here and you can click somewhere, and that is how you can move your cursor to random locations. Okay, third comes your move. So wherever you select your move button, okay, on the object, these three lines will appear. So you know already this is your y-axis, this is your z-axis, and this is your x-axis. So wherever you are moving, okay, from here either you press N or you press this option, you can see these things. Okay, now if I move it in a certain direction, let's say in the y-axis, you can see the changes here. If I try to move it in the negative direction, the value will be negative. Let's make it 0 to appear our cube again in the center. Again for the z-axis, for the x-axis. For the movement key, you have a shortcut that is called as G. So while I'm selecting this object, I press G and it will be moved. But right now it's from my angle, the view I'm looking at, it's moving through that. But while I have this in a moving position, by pressing G, it's still in a moving phase. I can lock it onto a certain axis, that is X, Y, or Z axis. Okay, so while I press G, okay, I have to disable this because it's still enabled and it's affecting the area. Pressing G, moving it, and I want to lock it onto Y axis. So my movement should only be in the X, Y, or Z axis. Right now I want it to be in Y axis. So for this object to be bounded on the Y axis, I press Y. So it can only move in y direction. I can move my mouse anywhere, or while I'm moving it, I want to move it 10 value or 10 meters in positive. So while it's still in the movement section, I can type 10 and it will be moved to 10 meters. Okay. Or I can just simply could have written 2 here and it will move 2 instead of 10. Similarly for X and Z. For Z, if I want to move it 1 up, it will move 1 meter up for X and Y and Z. Right now, while I'm moving it, there might be certain axis I don't want it to be moved in. For that, I have to press that certain direction with shift. So let's say I am moving it here, but I don't want it to be moved in the Z direction. So to make it stop in the Z direction, I press shift Z and that location will be locked. Okay. And I cannot now move it in the Z direction, but either on the XY panels in the 2D values. Okay. Right clicking somewhere outside cancels the thing you are doing. Okay. Then comes your R. Similar thing or similar rules are as for the movement key. Here you can see that the rotation will be along the y-axis, that's why it's showing green. Okay, and you can see the value changing here, or you can type here that it should rotate along y as 90 degree and it will be rotated as a 90-degree angle. Again, you can rotate in the X, you can rotate it into the Z direction 10 degree and it will be done. Or I can just simply click R, that is the shortcut for rotation. Again, it's happening with my viewport settings, but I can lock it onto some direction. Okay, so in x-axis I want to move it or rotate it along and it will be only rotating into the x direction. While maybe I'm doing this by mistake, I'm rotating it a lot and it's about 4445 degree. I can just simply write 10 and that will be rotated 10 in x direction. If I try to do the same thing, rotate not in z direction, so it can move either in both direction or not. I guess you already know the answer. If you try to rotate it with shift Z, still it will be rotated into the Z direction because it cannot rotate in two directions at the same time. Okay, either it can rotate in the three directions or just one direction. Next is your scale. For scale, the shortcut key is S. So the S value, I press shift, I simply press S instead of clicking here because again I will be getting those options for y-axis, for x-axis, for z-axis. It's better to use shortcut because I can simply use S and I want to increase it into the y direction, that is y, and how much I want to increase it, let's say 5. So it increased by 5 in y direction, but the earlier thing that was not working, the rotate, will work here because you can increase your size in 2 directions instead of 3 directions. So if I increase the size S and I want to lock this from the Z direction but increase the size in the X and Y axis, so I simply press Shift Z and I will write how much I want to increase, let's say 10, and I press enter and that will be done. That's how you can use all of these tools. Here the last option is the combination of all these three that can be more confusing. So you simply click here again and then on to the next thing. Sometimes you're working in a scene and you want to write something for your understanding, you want to create some boundaries for much more understanding, okay, that you can draw using this shape or this annote. But if you want to erase this because it's created in a 3D view, okay, it will still remain the same as in your viewport. You can just keep clicking here and you can just try these two over, but I want to erase it, so I simply click here and that will be erased. Okay, moving on to the next thing, I can see its dimensions. Here you can directly read it, by the way, that is 2 by 2 by 2 meter cube. But still, if I want to read it, I simply have to just press shift by clicking, and I can just see it in all direction. There's 2 by 2 by 2 by just rotating it onto the faces, and it will be just measure till the opposite face. Okay, last is your object creating. Okay, so you just keep clicking on top of it and you will have a certain shapes. So let's say you want to create something by using cube options, and you click and draw, and that's how it's made. But still it's in the air, and that's much more harder for you to know how to create proper shapes. So instead of using all of these shapes, I will much more prefer to simply click from add or shift A for mesh, and these things, they will automatically appear wherever your 3D cursor is. So to move your 3D cursor back to there, you press shift S and you will see these panels, and I move my cursor to world origin, and that's how it's back to the origin of this plane. Here you can hide these options by pressing T. If you're not seeing them, again press T and it will appear. Similarly, here you can hide these options as N, and you can make it appear again by pressing N. So let's hide it for now. You're seeing me that I'm rotating or moving in this view. For that, what you have to do is either you can just use this as your rotational or any values. For this, you can use zoom in or zoom out onto the object. For this, you can move your surroundings. Okay, then comes your camera. So by default there is one camera, or if you add any camera in the scene, you will just find it here. And when you click on it, everything that is inside the camera is the only thing that will be rendered out. Anything outside it won't be appeared. So now if my camera is there, I want to lock it, so I can just reposition it. I have to press here, or I just open it and go to view. Here your camera have been selected, so for the camera you select camera to view, and that's how you lock that option. Okay, and now I can just move it into this scene, or just click zoom in or zoom out or rotate it to have it positioning perfectly for my renders. And I unlock it from here or here, and I press N to hide it and disabling the camera view mode, and that's how I can change its things. Okay, now for the rotational part of for the movement in these directions, instead of using this, you use a middle mouse click button. For those who don't have middle mouse, they already know which buttons they have to click. Okay, so click outside your mesh, that is this cube, and just see it's circling around the object. Next is if you want to zoom in or zoom out, that is your control. Okay, and your middle mouse click button, that's how you zoom in or zoom out onto an object. And if you want to move into the surrounding, is shift middle mouse. Okay, here you're seeing this option that suddenly appeared now, that can be used to change this view. So right now whatever I'm creating is in a perspective view. Perspective means as far as it is, you will notice that it's looking straight, but as close as you're coming, you will see that their line have been tilted. It's basically our perspective, our view, how we see things with our two eyes. But if you want to fix it, you only want them to look straight even from any amount of distance. So you press here and it will always look straight, like you're looking from infinite distance and they are looking straight sharp corners, not something like this. Okay, so it's your choice how you're modeling things. Mostly I'll be modeling it in your perspective view. Okay, for all of this thing, for this movement, you can either lock the Y, that is this direction. I want to look from this direction onto this object. I click here, and that's how I can come here. Again, if I want to look from X positive direction onto my object, X positive. I want to look from up. If I want to look from bottom, same for minus angles. For shortcut keys, you have, if you have num keys on your right hand side, or if you don't have it, you enabled the option for using the upper numbers as the num keypad, that should be onto your right hand side. you press 1, okay, for you're seeing there as a -y, 3 as the x-axis, and 7 for the top axis. Okay, for the perspective orthographic, you can change it by pressing 5. Maybe you're not seeing it from here. If I press 5 here, you're seeing it changing. For 6 it's kind of perspective, okay, and for 8 it's also kind of perspective, but the angle have been changing and it's rotating by few degrees into a certain amount. I guess you can see it. It's between those things. So for your understanding, just read it as 1 is for y direction, 3 is for x direction, and 7 is for top direction. Okay, and that's how you see these things. Or there is one more way. If you are confused with all of these tools, okay, you have one more thing that is right below the escape button, that is something like a wavy shape. If you press there, you will find these menu. You can simply press the keys from here or just move your mouse if you want to look from the front. Okay, that will be showing as a front. If you want to see from the top, if you want to see from the right, back, left, camera, or sometimes you will find that your object is not in focus. Let's say your object is somewhere around here and I'm trying to move it, it's not moving along that way. So to focus on that object, I press the same button, that is a wavy type of sign, right under your escape button. You press that and you select on view selected. While your object is selected, that will be now in the center and you can rotate it around to see it from all other angles. Similarly, from the bottom view, you can see, or you can just come back by clicking mid click and rotate it into this environment. So I guess that's all for your 3D viewport for this class. From next on lectures, we'll be focusing more onto how we can go into the edit mode, how we can create something like a table, like a pot, and how we can use few modifiers